What's up YouTube, Dale here from Zephyr, and today I'm bringing you an update to Salamangreat. Now Salamangreat got a brand new fire monster, as did everything else, in the form of the Promethean Princess. On top of that as well, you can utilise a brand new card in the EP Mine in the deck as well, and that's really what kind of sets it apart from most of the other fire type builds running around this format. So with all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more upcoming content. Starting off with the main card for Salamangreat in my opinion, and that is of course Gazelle. Back at 3, it was reduced for a reason. This card is absolutely insane for the deck and gets everything ticking alongside of course your triple spinny. Everyone should know what Salas can do at this exact moment in time, so I'm not going to go in too much depth of what the cards do individually. We then of course got 2 Salamangreat of Fire, followed up by 1 Foxy, 1 Jaguar, Weasel, and of course Falco. The only other normal summon of the deck that I am playing around with at the moment is the Flame Buffalo, and I've only gone with 2 because you kind of come down to a position where it's like, right, okay, do I want Salamangreat of Fire, which is going to lock me into fires as my summon, considering you play 5 copies of this because of the ability of your circle to search it out, or do I want Buffalo, which can be a very nice kind of chain block ability, as well as setting up your graveyard. The only issue is, Salamangreat of Fire is your 1 card, pretty much everything you need, whereas Buffalo is a 2 card piece because you do need that additional discard in order to get you that draw and play around with it. Some people are also considering Lady Debug instead of Flame Buffalo, but the difference is with Flame Buffalo, at least it is a fire and it will give you the ability to extend that a little bit further, because there will be those times when being able to trigger off your Gazelle and everything else becomes very, very important. Then of course we do play the 1 EMP Meow Mine. So this card is, if a link monster is on the field or in either graveyard, you get to special on this card from the hand. You can only special summon EMP Mine once per turn this way. If a link 2 monster you control is sent to the graveyard or banished face up, except during a damage step, you get to banish this card from the graveyard if it was there when the monster was banished, or hand even if not, to target a card your opponent controls and return it to the hand. So it does form as a nice bit of interruption. That's why people are considering playing the Lady Debug, because it's like, okay, well if I've already opened up stuff like Spinny, or I've already opened up stuff like Gazelle, and I do go with the debug instead, I can search out the EMP Mine, have this in my hand, and then when you've used it to link up and gone that little bit further, it will then give you the ability to trigger off the Gazelle in the hand. So it's a bit more of a win card if you wanted to use it as that extension. We're actually using it as the ability to get it to the graveyard, and a link monster will probably leave the board because you also have the ability to do that with stuff like Rage and Roar as well, or more so with your Rage and the Roar, but that will then allow you to trigger it in order to kind of bounce an additional card as well, which is really cool. Then for the spells, of course, you do play triple Salamangreat Circle, pretty standard on that one. The 1 Sanctuary, which you will always see in your hand because it is what it is. 1 Will of the Salamangreats. Now I'm still playing the 1 Fire Recovery, and I'm also now playing the 1 Salamangreat Charge. Now Charge basically does what Fire Recovery does, but it's searchable and it's a quick play. But I do like the ability of being able to send a fire from the hand to put it into the graveyard when I might need it, revive one from the graveyard, and then have the ability to banish and draw. You could arguably play more copies of this if you wanted to, but I was only ever previously playing 2 of this because it can get a little bit bricky, but the fact it's not a once per turn can be very, very helpful. But the idea is that I've kind of supplemented the once per turn effect on this with this, so I've got 2 different cards. This one can give me the recycle and draw. This one can then give me the recycle as well as the extension to the board, and the ability to technically pop a card if I need to. So I'm testing this out. If I don't like it, I'll cut it out and put in a second Fire Recovery. But I still really rate this card because I know that with Promethean Princess, we already have the ability to constantly play through forms of interruption, and we actually have ways of coming back through Nibiru now, which is really, really kind of cool. But I still like this previously or prior to that, because there's a lot of times when my opponent would attempt to break my board and they'll be like, right, cool, I know Salah ain't got anything more, and I'll drop a Fire Recovery on them and then just go again into a different route. Even more so if you're not fire locked, because then that allows you to go through your Splash Mage into your decode, and because you're playing so many hand traps in this deck, you just draw and draw what you need. Then for the final salad cards, we are playing 1 Rage, 1 Roar, so simple on that one. And then in this particular build, I am still playing triple Crossout Designator. I just really, really like it. I think that the ability of being able to protect yourself from Imperms, and more annoyingly, Nibirus, can be very, very important. Yes, you have the ability to constantly play through Imperms and play through Ashes with the right hands, but it's Nibiru that is pretty much a game ender for this deck. Less so now with Promethean Princess, but it's still a card that will cause you issues, so being able to use something like Crossout Designator can be very, very important. We're also playing 2 DD Crows, 2 Ghost Mourners, and 2 Triple Tactic Talents. But again, the reason these are in different sleeves is because these are completely down to you. These entire 6 cards can become a 3rd Nibiru if you want to, but I quite like the range of the balance because you don't want to be opening up 3 Nib and you don't really want to be, or double Nib or anything else. So I quite like the ability of Tactics, and then these can be Ghost Bells, they can be Veilers, it really is up to you. The best thing about cross out as well is if you set the cross out, you can also out your opponent's Triple Tactics. Not that it's going to be a massive issue in the sense that, you know, most of your Link monsters will stay on the board, and if they take them, they're only really stopping your Rage or your Roar, which you probably would have used and shotgunned before that. But there is flexibility, it's entirely up to you in the hand trap lineup. It really comes down to the environment you're taking it to. Then for the extra deck, of course, we are playing Triple Balinks, pretty standard on that one. Now adapted to 2 is 2 Sunlight Wolf, and then of course 2 of the Raging Phoenix. Now the reason we're not playing Heat Leo is because in its place, that is where the Promethean Princess now kind of sits. It does a better job than it. It allows you to get into Raging Phoenix a lot quicker and a lot easier. So pretty much everything said there. Heater, we're in a fire format. Like, if you can play this card, you have to. It's so useful. The one card that's going to help you get to your EP mine is the Sprite Sprint. Luckily, it is a fire as well, so it doesn't really lock you down into anything too specific. And then the ability to be able to send on summon the EP mine to the graveyard is really important. And then if this card is link summoned, you get to send a level 2 monster from the deck to the graveyard. If another monster is special summoned while this card is on the field, etc. in damage state, you get to detach a material from an XYZ monster you control, target a monster on the field, and return it to the hand. Now that can be useful if you do leave your Mirage Stalio on the board. There are ways where you can leave the Mirage Stalio on the board because of the Promethean Princess. You don't always need to use it as link material. So then that gives you the ability to leave this on the board, add a sprint to it, which is then giving you an additional bounce because you'll get the bounce off the EP mine as well. And you've got the Promethean Princess. I'm not saying that you rely on the second effect. The main is the first effect of this to be able to send the EP mine to the graveyard. But you could play other cards like Abyss Dweller should you want to as well. And then we've got the 1 Splash Mage. Now the reason I'm playing this is just because it's a follow-up, or if my opponent does constantly keep attack my board, clear my board off and everything else, Splash Mage can be really important to get you into Decode, and then Decode's going to allow you to give you that draw. Now, of course, in theory, you could completely cut the Heat Soul if you wanted to, because in that exact same scenario, rather than going to Decode Talker, you just go into the Promethean Princess. But this is one of the ones where they've maybe already Nibiru'd you, they've already cleared the board off, Promethean's already in the graveyard. You can go into Decode, and then you're just drawing into your hand traps. So these are flex spots, more so Decode than Splash Mage. Wicked is the other one that people play as well, entirely up to you. I just like that ability to draw into my hand traps to disrupt my opponent even further, as well as the ability of being able to crack back with the Promethean Princess into Pyro Phoenix. I'm still playing the Proxy F and the Violet Chimera. You don't have to be playing these because you do also then need to consider that if you're going to be doing that, you need to be putting in the Pit Knight Earl. So it really is up to you on that particular one. These are just flex spots I'm playing around with at the moment, so I haven't finalised the extra deck itself. I just quite liked what Proxy Magician was able to give you, but not that you need it anymore. It's just one of the ones where if your opponent is constantly interrupting your board and they know exactly what you've got, they're going to be trying to disrupt that particular element, and they're not going to be expecting the Proxy F Magician or the Violet Chimera push for an OTK anymore. So it's definitely something that you can catch them off guard with. But like I said, you'll need to put the Pit Knight Earl in, and in place of that, that's where your Decode Talker comes out of play. So it's up to you whether you want the draw capabilities. If you do put into Decode Talker, the Lady Debug, you can also consider IPs and SPs. I just wanted to try and maintain the fire focus because I feel a lot of builds online right now are utilizing different elements in their extra deck, but ultimately it comes down to the format that you're in and where you're taking it to, because let's be honest, you're probably more times than not going to get hit with a heater, and that's something that can be a little bit dangerous, especially when you can also get hit off of the back of that with stuff like Zelantis. Can be very, very annoying. I did want to try and maintain playing what I did before, which was the 1 Gozen and the 1 Rivalry, but let's be honest, Gozen's going to do nothing in this competitive format depending on where you're taking this deck to play, and like Rivalry can be pretty good, but even then, like, unless you focus specifically on your Cyverse with Promethean Princess being a fiend, it's not going to give you an out and outright, that's it, lockdown, game over kind of play. So you still need to be very cautious and very careful with what you're putting out. But I still feel that Salads are incredibly powerful in this format. And The only downside is that everyone is on fire. So if there's a way to out specific fire decks, you better betcha that they're going to be able to out it. So, like I said, these two are flexible. You definitely need to put Pit Knight into it if you want to, and that's where I've made the last minute change of putting Sprint in. But this is just something to utilise the EP mine on a consistent basis as well. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope this has given you a couple of ideas on your own build. Like I said, use this as a structure in order to kind of update your builds, adapt it, see what you think fits the most. There's a lot of different angles you can take the deck if you wanted to. Like, you could cut the Promethean Princess if you don't own it, but 20 quid just for the card, it's worth getting, especially if you already own the Raging Phoenix. Raging Phoenix is going to be the issue that if you don't own it, can be a little bit tricky. But I do also advise you that if you are playing Salamangreat, now is the perfect time to be picking up your Salamangreat of Fire, because in Salamangreat it's being utilised less and less and being relied on less and less. So it's a little bit cheaper to pick up. So grab them now before if they do eventually start to bump back up. I think the last time I saw people were selling them for like £8 to £10, but I think that might have just been someone with a quick sell. So if you look out for those, they are definitely worth grabbing, in my opinion, and that will then give you an option going forward. And then all you need to do is work towards a Raging Phoenix, which unfortunately is now a meta staple for most snake-eyed builds. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. Till next time, as absolutely always, stay safe, and of course, happy dueling.